Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sarah Be Too Good, where we learn to be too good to ourselves. You guys, I want to thank you for joining and watching this video on today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And anyone that comes to your mind while you're watching this video, that is the person that you want to share this video with. You guys, this is the second time that I've made this video. Completed the video, and I tried to go back to listen to the video. You guys, it was no sound. Absolutely no sound. So I don't know what happened. Prayerfully, you guys can hear the sound okay on this video. But again, I do want to thank you for joining on today. I want to encourage you today to trust the path that you are on today. We have a tendency of believing that the path that we are on today is not the path that we are supposed to be on. We feel like that we're behind time and we've missed opportunities. And so I want to encourage you on today that where you are today, where I am today, is where we are supposed to be. I know that's hard to believe. It was hard for me to swallow that I'm going to say it again. Where you are today, where I am today, is where we are supposed to be. Now, God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God that I serve, He has a plan for both you and I. There are lessons that we are to learn at certain parts in our lives. Unfortunately, we don't get to decide what lessons that we need to learn, and we don't get to decide the timing in which we are to learn those lessons in our lives. And so the lessons depends upon the call, depends upon the things that God has called you and I to do while we're here on the earth. Okay? And so for that reason, we want to embrace every season that we're in, even when we find ourselves, in the season and on paths that's difficult. We want to trust the path that we're on. There is a greater lesson for us to learn. And so I want to share with you, I've mentioned before, but for those of you that this may be your first video that you're watching, I am a 11-year cancer survivor on the vocal cord. Now, I was never a smoker, never tried to smoke. And one day I preparing to log in for work as I was working from home at the time. And I've never had asthma and still do not have asthma. And so on this one particular day, I get up and every 2 or 3 words that I said, you guys, I was doing this as if I was having an asthma attack, but I don't have asthma. And so that led me back and forth to my primary care doctor. And then from there, I was referred to see a ear, nose, and throat provider with a specialty on the vocal cord. And so that provider did a biopsy because he had compared what my vocal cords looked like in 2013 versus compared to what they looked like in 2014. And it just looked the images from the exam that he did in 2014 was different. Not bad, but just different from 2013. And so fast forward, he did a biopsy, and I had someone with me there at the hospital while they did that biopsy. I didn't think anything of it. I'm just going on about my business, you guys. And so fast forward, I get a phone call from that same doctor's office wanting to schedule a follow-up appointment. And so I'm not even thinking anything. I'm not even thinking that I'm going to get a cancer diagnosis. I went by myself to the doctor, and I had no idea that this doctor was going to give me a diagnosis of cancer on the vocal cord when I've never smoked, never tried to smoke at all, And so I went to the office. I'm in the chair, he's talking to me, and I started crying because I'm a mom, and all I could think about were my children. And, when we hear the cancer word, we just automatically assume that it is going to end in a death sentence, and I thank God that that has not been the case with me. And so in that moment, I just began crying, thinking about my children, because I didn't trust anybody on the face of the earth then, to take care of my children other than myself. And so I left the doctor's office, went to the bathroom, and I cried. And I cried about a good 5 or 10 minutes before leaving the doctor's office and getting on the road, to go back home. And my life changed tremendously. The voice that you hear on this video, I have not always had this voice. I have not always had this voice. My voice was raspy after the radiation treatments. Actually, before the radiation treatments, my voice was like strained. And so even the job that I had then, I was on the phone working, but it was even a strain for me to even work then. And so it affected my livelihood. And so just because I had that diagnosis, it didn't mean that, the bills were no longer due. Like, I still had the same expenses, but it just affected my livelihood. And so fast forward, I wrote my first book, which is Survivor Once, Survivor for Life. Well, you guys, guess what? I was only able to write that book because of what I had went through, going through, after receiving the diagnosis of having cancer and having, to go through 6 weeks of radiation on the vocal cord. And so had it not been for the path that I was on, now I'm not saying that God caused the caused the cancer. I'm not saying that he caused the cancer at all, but, his word does say that all things work together for our good. And so although I was on that path, having received a cancer diagnosis, I was able to write my first book, Survivor Once, Survivor for Life. And so again, we don't get to pick and choose the path that we're on, but we have to trust that if he allowed you and I to be on the path that we have been on and are currently on today, we have to believe and trust that there is a greater purpose than what we can see right now, And so fast forward, I was, in the middle on a different path than the cancer diagnosis, but a different path that I had no idea that I was going to be on the path. And so it was a path, back up against the wall, that kind of thing. And it was just, it was a taxing, trying path that required me to trust the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob every day, like to trust him with my sanity, because things were so bad that it's only the grace of God that I have my sanity, okay? Because I know that I should have had several breakdowns, several nervous breakdowns. I know that I should be in the corner of someone's institution, in the corner, rocking back and forth, picking cotton. And I'm not making light of the situation. I'm not making light of anybody else's situation, but I know the path that I was on, like it was that bad, okay? And so one day, I decided I'm going to get up, and on that day that I got up and I said I was going to get up and I was going to flip, I was going to turn my situation around, meaning what was meant to take me out, I pivoted during that moment. And I had no idea that I was going to create a YouTube channel. Not only that, but I was able to complete a second manuscript that I've completed, you guys. And so the second manuscript is in process. It's in process of being published. And so I'm hoping that it will be released the end of July, early August. And so when whatever God has for you or I to do in the earth, that assignment has attached to it certain lessons that we are to learn. Not only those lessons that we are to learn, it's not just for us, but it's for others that are going to come behind us, that we are going to have to reach back and help them along the way and encourage them. Okay? And so for that reason, this is why we cannot curse our journeys, our paths, even it's difficult, even though it's trying, even though it's painful. And so, I want to encourage you on today that whatever path that you're on today, I want to encourage you to continue to get up, continue to put one foot in front of the other. As you take one step, God will take another step. But we don't want to ask God to make steps, and we have not made steps at all. And so just make one step, and then he'll make the next step, and make the next step, and then he'll make the next step, you guys. And so I'm only sharing with you things that I had to do, and I'm encouraging you to do the same thing. Okay? And so while again, we don't get to choose the path that we're on, but based upon our assignment that we are to complete here in the earth, that assignment that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has assigned to our lives comes lessons that we have to learn and that we have to endure. And so I hope that I've been able to share a different perspective regarding the path that you're on today. Wherever you are today, you're not going to always be there. It's not going to always be like that. Things will get better. They will get better. And so, you guys, anyone that has come to your mind while you're watching this video, that's the person you should share this video with. And you guys, thank you so much again for joining and watching this video. Remember, be too good to yourself. This is a community and a space where we learn to be too good to ourselves. And until next week, I'll see you next time. Bye.